In the year 2147, humanity stood on the brink of a new era. For centuries, people had looked to the stars, wondering if they were alone in the universe. The answer finally came when an alien ship descended from the heavens and landed softly in the heart of Geneva, Switzerland. It wasn't just any spacecraft. It shimmered with colors that seemed alive, pulsating gently like a heartbeat. Everyone who saw it felt something stir deep within them. This was no ordinary visitor. This was the Veilith. The Veilith were unlike anything Earth had ever imagined. Their bodies were translucent, glowing faintly with hues that shifted depending on their emotions. They moved gracefully, almost floating, as though gravity itself bowed to their presence. At first, fear gripped the planet. Were they here to conquer, to destroy? But the Veilith ambassador quickly dispelled those fears. She introduced herself as Silra, her voice soft yet resonant, carrying a melody that soothed even the most anxious hearts. Silra's mission was simple: to learn about humanity. Her kind had long observed Earth from afar, fascinated by its chaos, creativity, and contradictions. Humans were messy, flawed, and unpredictable, but also capable of incredible beauty. Silra wanted to understand what made them tick. Diplomats, scientists, and artists gathered at the United Nations headquarters in New Geneva to welcome her. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but Silra remained calm, her glowing form radiating curiosity rather than intimidation. Among the crowd stood Dr. Elias Voss, a xenobiologist known for his groundbreaking work studying extraterrestrial ecosystems. Tall, wiry, and perpetually lost in thought, Elias had spent years preparing for moments like this. Yet nothing could have prepared him for Silra. As she glided through the room, meeting dignitaries and exchanging pleasantries, Elias noticed how intently she listened to every word spoken around her. Her gaze lingered on families holding hands, lovers whispering secrets, and children laughing freely. These small human moments seemed to captivate her more than grand speeches or political handshakes. It was during one such moment that fate intervened. Two scientists standing near Elias began discussing human reproduction, not in clinical terms, but philosophically. One mused about how miraculous it was that two beings could come together to create life, sharing not only genes but hopes, dreams, and legacies. The other nodded, adding that reproduction wasn't just biological, it was emotional, spiritual even. Silra overheard their conversation. Her luminous eyes widened, and she tilted her head slightly, as though processing something profound. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she murmured to herself, "So this is human reproduction. I must experience it with you." Elias froze. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but her words struck him like lightning. What did she mean by experience? Was it mere curiosity, or something deeper? Before he could approach her, Silra turned away, continuing her rounds with the same serene smile. But Elias couldn't shake the feeling that her quiet declaration held significance far beyond what anyone else understood. That night, as the gala wound down, and the world buzzed with excitement over humanity's newfound connection to the stars, Elias found himself staring at the sky. Somewhere out there, among the infinite expanse of galaxies, lay answers to questions he hadn't yet asked. And somehow, he knew Silra would lead him to them, even if the journey took him places he never expected to go. The days following Silra's arrival were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, scientific discussions, and media frenzy. Humanity was eager to learn about the Veilith, but no one seemed more fascinated by humans than Silra herself. She spent hours observing their behavior, how they laughed, argued, celebrated, and mourned. To her, every interaction was a puzzle waiting to be solved. But one mystery lingered in her mind more than any other: human reproduction. Silra couldn't stop thinking about the scientists' conversation at the gala. The idea of two beings coming together not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually intrigued her deeply. It was so different from how the Veilith created life. Her species reproduced through a ritual called *lumen weaving*, where partners merged their glowing essences into a shared consciousness. Offspring emerged as fragments of that union, pure energy given form. While beautiful, the process left Syra feeling incomplete. Something vital seemed missing. A connection she couldn't quite name. Determined to understand, Syra sought out Dr. Elias Voss. He had caught her attention during the gala, not because he was particularly charismatic or outspoken, but because of the way his eyes sparkled when he spoke about alien biology. There was passion in him, a quiet intensity that reminded her of the shimmering stars back home. When she approached him after a UN briefing, Elias looked surprised, but quickly agreed to meet privately under the guise of cultural exchange. Their first meeting took place in a small cafe overlooking Lake Geneva. Syra arrived cloaked in soft blue light, her translucent form drawing curious glances from passers-by. Elias greeted her nervously, unsure what to expect. Over coffee, or rather, over a cup of warm water for Syra, who found earth drinks too harsh, she began asking questions. Not about science or politics, but about love, family, and relationships. What did it feel like to hold someone close, to dream of a future with another person, to create life together? Elias hesitated at first, unaccustomed to discussing such personal topics with anyone, let alone an alien ambassador. But as Syra listened intently, her glowing presence exuding genuine curiosity, he opened up. He told her about his parents, who had immigrated to Earth from Mars before he was born, about his younger sister, whose laughter could light up even the darkest room, and about how, despite dedicating his life to studying extraterrestrial life forms, he often felt lonely among humans. Syra absorbed every word, her colors shifting between soft pinks and golds, a sign of deep emotion among the Velith. "Your connections are extraordinary," she said finally. "They seem fragile, yet enduring. How do you nurture them?" "It's complicated," Elias admitted with a wry smile. "Sometimes we hurt each other. Sometimes we fail. But when it works..." He paused, searching for the right words. "It feels like magic." Syra tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. "Magic," she repeated softly, as though testing the sound. Then, almost shyly, she added, "I wish to understand this magic. Perhaps I can experience it myself." Elias blinked, startled. "You mean?" "I don't know yet," Syra admitted. "But I believe there is something here worth exploring. Something my people have forgotten, or never known." As they parted ways that evening, Elias couldn't shake the weight of her words. Helping Syra delve into human intimacy would blur ethical lines and risk diplomatic fallout. Yet the thought of denying her request felt wrong somehow. Deep down, he knew their journey was only beginning, and that it would change both of them forever. Syra's fascination with human reproduction grew stronger with each passing day. Her meetings with Elias became more frequent, their conversations stretching late into the night. At first, they focused on theory, discussing the biological and emotional aspects of human relationships. But soon, Syra began asking questions that went beyond mere understanding. She wanted to know if it was possible for her species and humans to share something so deeply intimate. Could a Velith and a human truly connect in a way that transcended their differences? Elias hesitated at the enormity of her question. "It's not just about biology," he explained one evening as they sat in his lab, surrounded by holographic displays of DNA strands and energy patterns. "Reproduction is tied to identity. For us, it's about creating life together, but also about leaving a legacy. For your people, well, I don't fully understand how lumen-weaving works yet." Syra nodded thoughtfully, her glowing form shimmering faintly. "For my kind, reproduction is an act of unity, a merging of light and essence. But when the ritual ends, we return to ourselves unchanged. There is no lingering bond, no shared future. It feels hollow." Her words struck a chord with Elias. He had always admired the complexity of human emotions, even when they brought pain or confusion. To him, those imperfections were what made life meaningful. Seeing Syra's longing for something deeper stirred something within him, a mix of empathy and determination. "What if we tried to combine our methods?" he suggested cautiously, "not just to create life, but to see if our differences could harmonize. Maybe there's a way to bridge the gap between our species." Syra's eyes lit up, her colors shifting to vibrant shades of violet and gold. "Yes," she whispered, "let's try." But the path ahead wouldn't be easy. They needed resources, expertise, and secrecy. If word got out about their plan, it could spark outrage among both humans and the Violet High Council. Together, Elias and Silra assembled a small team of trusted researchers, scientists who believed in the potential for interspecies collaboration. Using advanced bioengineering technology, they designed a controlled environment where Syra's physiology could adapt to mimic human reproductive processes. As weeks turned into months, the project consumed them. Late nights in the lab became routine, filled with endless testing and recalibration. Syra endured discomfort as her body adjusted to unfamiliar sensations, while Elias struggled with self-doubt. Was he playing God, pushing boundaries too far? Yet every time he looked at Syra's hopeful expression, his fears melted away. This wasn't just science, it was a leap of faith. One evening, as they reviewed data together, Syra reached out tentatively, her translucent hand hovering near Elias's. Though physical contact between their species was risky due to incompatible energy fields, she seemed determined to try. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing in this, in me." Elias smiled, feeling warmth spread through him despite the chill of the lab. "We're doing this together," he replied. "Whatever happens, we'll face it side by side." Unbeknownst to them, whispers of their experiment had already begun to spread. A janitor overheard fragments of their discussions. A researcher accidentally left notes on a public server. By the time they realized someone might be watching, it was too late. The world, and perhaps even the stars above, was about to take notice. Months of painstaking work finally bore fruit one quiet evening in the lab. The air was thick with anticipation as Syra lay on a bioengineering platform, her glowing form dimmed to a soft, steady pulse. Around her, monitors displayed streams of data, biological readings, energy fluctuations, and genetic sequences that represented the fragile bridge between two species. Elias stood nearby, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted dials and checked readings. This was the moment they had been working toward, but neither of them dared to hope too much. "Are you ready?" Elias asked softly, glancing at Syra. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. "I've never felt more certain of anything," she replied, her voice steady despite the uncertainty ahead. For weeks, Syra's body had been adapting to mimic human reproductive processes. Her translucent skin now carried faint traces of human-like warmth, and her energy field had stabilized enough to support the creation of life. It was an extraordinary feat, one that pushed the boundaries of both science and nature. But success was far from guaranteed. If something went wrong, it could endanger not only Syra, but also the delicate alliance between humans and the Valeth. Elias initiated the final sequence, his heart pounding as the machines hummed to life. A gentle beam of light enveloped Syra, pulsing rhythmically like a heartbeat. On the monitors, lines began to spike and fluctuate wildly before settling into a steady pattern. Then came the moment they had all been waiting for. A faint signal appeared, barely noticeable at first, but growing stronger with each passing second. "It's working," Elias whispered, hardly daring to believe it. There's life forming." Syra gasped, her colors flaring into brilliant hues of gold and green. She placed a hand over her abdomen, though no physical change was visible yet. For the first time, she felt something entirely new, a connection deeper than anything she had experienced during lumen weaving. It wasn't just energy or essence. It was life itself, fragile and miraculous. The team erupted into cheers, their exhaustion forgotten in the wake of this breakthrough. Tears streamed down Elias's face as he stared at the monitors, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what they had achieved. They had created a hybrid, a being that embodied traits of both humanity and the Valeth. Its DNA was unlike anything seen before, a perfect blend of carbon-based biology and radiant energy. But amidst the celebration, Syra felt a wave of conflicting emotions. Joy coursed through her, yes, but also uncertainty. What kind of future awaited this child? Would it belong to either world, or would it be rejected by both? She turned to Elias, her luminous eyes searching his. "What have we done?" she murmured, her voice tinged with awe and apprehension. Elias took a deep breath, placing a reassuring hand near hers without touching. "We've taken a step forward," he said gently. "A step toward understanding each other, not just as species, but as individuals. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." Their bond had grown stronger throughout the experiment, blurring the lines between professional collaboration and something more profound. As they gazed at the monitors displaying the tiny flicker of life, they realized this was only the beginning. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for now, they allowed themselves a moment of hope. Little did they know, news of their success was already spreading beyond the confines of the lab. Somewhere in the shadows, someone watched and plotted against them. The spark of life they had created would ignite not just wonder, but controversy on a scale neither of them could imagine. The news broke like a storm. Someone, whether it was the careless researcher who left notes on an unsecured server or the janitor who overheard fragments of their conversations, had leaked details about the hybrid experiment to the press. Within hours, the story exploded across global media. Headlines screamed, "Human-alien hybrid, created in secret lab *, and * scientists play God with alien life form." The world reacted with shock, outrage, and fear. Religious leaders condemned the act as unnatural, arguing that humanity had crossed a sacred line by meddling with creation. Political factions accused Elias and Syra of endangering Earth's future, warning that such experiments could provoke retaliation from the Valeth High Council, or worse, other alien species. Protesters gathered outside the lab, chanting slogans and holding signs that read *, "Keep humanity pure *, and * "No to alien tampering." Even within the scientific community, opinions were divided. Some hailed the breakthrough as a monumental step toward interspecies understanding, while others called for immediate termination of the project, citing ethical concerns. Meanwhile, the Valeth High Council issued a stern warning. If Selra did not return home immediately, they would sever all diplomatic ties with Earth. Syra watched the chaos unfold from the safety of the lab, her glowing form dimmed to a somber gray. She had known there would be risks, but nothing could have prepared her for the scale of the backlash. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her shoulders, not just for herself, but for the fragile life growing inside her. Elias stood beside her, his face pale with exhaustion and guilt. "I never wanted this," he admitted quietly. "I thought we were doing something good, something hopeful." "You are," Syra insisted, her voice firm despite the turmoil around them. "This child is proof that our species can coexist, that we're stronger together than apart. But I knew there would be consequences." The team urged them to go into hiding, fearing for their safety, and the safety of the unborn hybrid. Reluctantly, Syra agreed. Under cover of darkness, she and Elias fled the lab, taking only the essential equipment needed to monitor her condition. They sought refuge in an abandoned observatory nestled deep in the Swiss Alps, its remote location offering some protection from prying eyes. As days turned into weeks, tensions between humans and the Valeth escalated. Diplomatic relations crumbled, and calls for Syra's extradition grew louder. Yet amidst the chaos, Syra and Elias found solace in their shared purpose. They continued their work in secret, ensuring the hybrid remained healthy and stable. Late at night, they talked about the future, the kind of world they hoped to build for their child. "I don't regret this," Syra said one evening as they gazed at the stars through the observatory's cracked dome. "Even if my people disown me, even if yours turn against us, we've started something important. This child will show them what's possible." Elias nodded, his resolve strengthening. "We'll protect it," he promised, "no matter what." But their resolve would soon be tested. Unknown to them, forces both human and alien were closing in, determined to stop the experiment at any cost. The child represented hope, but also a threat to those who feared change. As winter settled over the mountains, casting long shadows across the snow, Syra and Elias braced themselves for the battles ahead. Their journey was far from over, and the stakes had never been higher. The months spent in hiding were grueling, but they also brought moments of profound beauty. Syra's body continued to adapt, her glowing form now radiating with a soft, steady light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the life growing inside her. The hybrid child was no longer just data on a screen. It was becoming real, tangible, and alive. Each day brought new challenges, from monitoring Syra's health to evading those who sought to stop them. But through it all, Elias and Syra found strength in their shared purpose. One frigid morning, as snow blanketed the mountains outside the observatory, Syra woke suddenly, her colors flaring into bright hues of violet and gold. "Elias," she whispered urgently, clutching her abdomen. "It's time." Elias sprang into action, his hands trembling as he prepared the makeshift birthing chamber they had constructed. The process would be unlike anything either species had experienced before, a blend of human biology and violet energy. As contractions rippled through Syra's body, waves of light emanated from her, filling the room with an otherworldly glow. Her voice rose in a melodic hum, a sound that resonated deep within Elias's chest. Hours passed, each moment fraught with tension and wonder. Finally, with one last surge of energy, the child emerged, a luminous being whose translucent skin shimmered like starlight. Its eyes opened slowly, revealing galaxies swirling within their depths. The room fell silent as Elias and Syra stared at the miracle before them. It was neither fully human nor fully violet. It was something entirely new, a bridge between worlds. Tears streamed down Elias's face as he reached out cautiously, afraid to touch yet desperate to connect. The child responded by extending a tiny hand, its fingers trailing sparks of golden light. When Elias finally brushed his fingertips against its palm, warmth spread through him, a sense of peace and unity that transcended words. Syra cradled the child close, her colors shifting to soft blues and greens. "It's perfect," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "A piece of both of us." But their joy was tempered by reality. Outside the observatory, tensions between humans and the Vailith continued to escalate. Reports of military movements and diplomatic threats filled encrypted channels Elias monitored. They couldn't stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, the world, and perhaps even hostile forces, would find them. Determined to protect their creation, Syra and Elias made a bold decision. They would reveal the child to the world, not as a symbol of division, but as proof of hope. Together, they crafted a message, broadcasting it globally using a secure satellite link. In the transmission, Syra spoke directly to humanity and her own people. "This child is not a threat," she said, her voice calm yet impassioned. "It is a testament to what we can achieve when we set aside fear and embrace understanding. It carries the essence of both our species, bound together by love and trust. If you reject it, you reject the possibility of unity." When the broadcast ended, silence fell over the world. For a moment, it seemed as though nothing had changed. Then, slowly, responses began pouring in. Some remained hostile, accusing Syra and Elias of arrogance and recklessness. But others, ordinary people, scientists, and even a few Vailith emissaries, expressed awe and admiration. Hope flickered, fragile but undeniable. As dawn broke over the mountains, casting golden light across the snow, Syra and Elias held their child close. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, they allowed themselves to believe that change was possible. Their little family wasn't just a beginning. It was a beacon lighting the way toward a brighter future. Dr. Emily Carter sighed as she unlocked the front door of her cozy suburban home. It had been a long day at the lab, filled with endless research on extraterrestrial plant samples and frustratingly incomplete data. She stepped inside, dropped her bag by the couch, and flicked on the lights. Just as she was about to head to the kitchen for a much-needed cup of tea, there was a soft knock at the door. Emily frowned. Who could it be this late? Her friends usually called before stopping by, and the neighbors rarely visited unannounced. Curiosity got the better of her, so she turned back and opened the door. Standing there was a woman unlike anyone Emily had ever seen. Her hair shimmered like liquid silver under the porch light, cascading down her shoulders in waves that seemed almost too perfect to be real. Her eyes were an otherworldly shade of violet, glowing faintly as though lit from within. But what struck Emily most was how familiar the stranger looked, like someone she should have known but couldn't quite place. "Hello, Emily," the woman said softly, her voice melodic yet tinged with something unreadable. "Do you remember me?" Emily blinked, taken aback. I'm sorry. Do we know each other?" The woman smiled warmly, though there was a hint of sadness behind it. "Of course we do. We were neighbors when you were a child. You used to ride your bike past my house every afternoon. I even helped you climb that big oak tree once. You fell and scraped your knee, remember?" Emily's heart skipped a beat. She did remember those moments vividly, but not with this woman. In her memories, there had been someone else, a neighbor named Mrs. Harper, an elderly lady who always wore floral dresses and baked cookies. This radiant figure standing before her didn't match any of those recollections. "I think you might have me confused with someone else," Emily said cautiously, though doubt lingered in her mind. Something about the way the woman spoke felt eerily convincing, as if she truly knew Emily's past. The woman tilted her head slightly, studying Emily with those luminous eyes. "No, I don't believe I am. My name is Lyra, and trust me, Emily, I remember everything." Before Emily could respond, Lyra stepped closer, holding out her hand. Resting in her palm was a small glowing device no larger than a coin. It pulsed gently, emitting a faint hum that sent shivers down Emily's spine. "This belongs to you," Lyra said simply. "Or rather, it will." Emily stared at the object, unsure whether to feel fascinated or alarmed. "What is it?" she asked finally. Lyra's smile widened, but there was a strange intensity in her gaze now. "Let's just say it's proof that our connection runs deeper than you realize. May I come in? There's much to discuss." Against her better judgment, and perhaps driven by sheer curiosity, Emily nodded and stepped aside. As Lyra entered the house, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change forever. Something about this mysterious visitor wasn't entirely human, but why did she claim to know Emily so well? And what secrets lay hidden in that tiny glowing device? For the first time in years, Emily felt a thrill of excitement mixed with unease. Whatever Lyra wanted, it was clear this wouldn't be an ordinary evening. This version uses simple language, maintains third-person narration, and builds intrigue while keeping the tone engaging and accessible. Let me know if you'd like adjustments.